This hearing will come to order. Today, the Senate Judiciary Committee will hold a hearing on the nominations of Kristen Clarke to be Assistant Attorney General for the Civil Rights Division and Todd Kim to be the Assistant Attorney General for the Environment and Natural Resources Division, commonly referred to as ENRD. These are key positions in the Department of Justice. Once confirmed, these nominees will play a critical role working with Attorney General Garland and other senior department leaders to restore the department's independence and integrity, take partisan politics out of the department's work, and faithfully execute the law. Ms. Clarke, Mr. Kim, you're so far away, but I wanted to welcome you and your families especially. We're happy to have you here today. With passage of the Civil Rights Act of 1957, the Civil Rights Division was founded with the task of defending the civil rights of all Americans. The division's attorneys' work is wide-ranging and includes protecting the right to vote, defending the free exercise of religion, combating human trafficking, ensuring those with disabilities have equal opportunities and access to public accommodations, and upholding fair housing laws, rooting out employment discrimination, protecting students against educational integrity. It's a pretty vast agenda. Importantly, the division's lawyers also investigate and prosecute hate crimes, which occur far too frequently in our communities. They are perpetrated against individuals on the basis of race, religion, gender identity, sexual orientation, and disability. The Civil Rights Division plays a critical role in the Justice Department, building on the mission that led the Justice Department's creation in the late 19th century, upholding equal justice under the law. But the Civil Rights Division today also is regrettably a shell of its former self. The Trump administration did more than just diminish the division's standing. It went so far as to use the division to roll back hard-won civil rights. Under President Trump, the Civil Rights Division reversed long-standing positions in key voting rights cases. It gave its blessing to harmful voter ID laws that were unnecessary and voter purges. The division pushed for and then defended the addition of citizenship questions in the 2020 census. It abandoned the use of consent decrees with local police departments, a vital tool that helped promote police accountability and protect both officers and the communities they served. And so, after 4 years of a Civil Rights Division hollowed out by the Justice Department's own leaders, we find ourselves in desperate need of restored leadership, of a bold vision for returning the division to its founding ideals, of a renewed commitment to enforcing the nation's civil rights laws. And fortunately, in Kristen Clarke, we have exactly the kind of leader who can accomplish this ambitious mission. Ms. Clarke is currently the President and Executive Director of the Lawyers Committee for Civil Rights Under the Law, an organization founded at the urging of President John Kennedy, championed by his brother, Attorney General Robert Kennedy. In her role leading the Lawyers Committee, and indeed throughout her career, Ms. Clarke has been a strong defender of civil rights. From prosecuting hate crimes and human trafficking in the criminal section of the Civil Rights Division, to protecting voting rights at the NAACP Legal Defense and Education Fund, to tackling employment discrimination as the Chief of Civil Rights Bureau in the New York Attorney General's Office, Ms. Clarke has steadfastly pursued an objective that sadly remains elusive even to this day: equal justice for all. And in that pursuit, she has exhibited the qualities that we need in the individual charged with running the Civil Rights Division: humility, fidelity to the rule of law, and a demonstrated commitment to building broad coalitions in support of civil rights. Sadly, some are so threatened by the prospect of a revitalized Civil Rights Division that they have already engaged in baseless attacks on this extremely well-qualified nominee. This morning's Washington Post tells of many of those attacks which you have disclosed to the public in an effort to let them know exactly what you have faced. Despite Clarke's deep base of law enforcement support, groups like the Major Cities Chiefs Association, the International Association of Chiefs of Police, to individual sheriffs, prosecutors, and state attorneys general, some are actually trying to paint her as anti-police, based on false accusations that she represented or worked to free a man convicted of murdering a Philadelphia officer. And despite years of confronting online anti-Semitic hate and work defending religious rights, including the right of workers to receive accommodations to observe the Saturday Sabbath, Clarke is facing accusations of anti-Semitism, which are so absurd that the Jewish Council for Public Affairs felt the need to write to this committee and say that the organization, quote, considers attempts to focus on purported anti-Semitism during Clarke's nomination process to be inappropriate. Attorney General Garland told us during his own hearing that he does not believe Clarke is an anti-Semite or believes she is discriminatory in any sense. Clarke is the person the Attorney General wants us to send him to lead to the Justice Department's Civil Rights Division. She is the person who can restore the Civil Rights Division to serve all of the American people. For the past several weeks, stories about the trial in Minnesota and incidents there and in other states have led the news. It's our job in the Senate Judiciary Committee to remind America that there is a rule of law and a legal process to protect the civil rights of all Americans. Speech and nonviolent demonstration are protected constitutional actions in America. I hope we can show by our actions in this committee that we can lead the proper legal response to the civil rights issues of our day. We'll also hear today from Todd Kim, who likewise brings with him an amazing wealth of experience and commitment to the law, irrespective of personal belief or partisan politics. In a conversation I had with Mr. Kim, I talked about the fact that so many trial lawyers these days really can't point to any appearances before judges. You have an extraordinary record, particularly on the appellate level when it comes to that. The Environment and Natural Resources Division, originally created as the Public Lands Division, has been in existence for over 100 years. Every day, attorneys in this division work tirelessly to enforce our nation's environmental laws, including the Clean Air Act, the Clean Water Act, and hazardous waste laws. Every American benefits from ENRD's work to reduce pollution and protect our nation's most precious natural resources. Sadly, ENRD was gutted under the Trump administration. Over the past 4 years, the number of enforcement actions against polluters dropped dramatically, and civil penalties fell to an all-time low. The prior Assistant Attorney General, Jeffrey Bozzard Clarke, focused on politics and a deeply partisan agenda, not the law. He prioritized allowing polluters to act with impunity, not protecting the environment. And then, as acting head of the Civil Division, Clarke, it was reported, conspired with Donald Trump's efforts to overturn the results of the 2020 presidential election. Disgraceful conduct, which this committee is actively investigating. What ENRD needs now is someone who will bring back integrity, stability, and a renewed commitment to enforcing our nation's environmental and natural resource laws. Todd Kim is that person. Mr. Kim is currently the Deputy General Counsel for Litigation, Regulation, and Enforcement at the Department of Energy. He is an experienced, award-winning appellate litigator. He has significant expertise in environmental and natural resources law from 8 years at ENRD, and he served for 11 years as the District of Columbia's first Solicitor General. Whether representing the U.S. government under Clinton and Bush administrations, the D.C. government, or clients in private practice, Mr. Kim is focused on the law, not politics. Throughout his career, Mr. Kim has been recognized for his integrity, his humility, his deep knowledge base, and his understanding of what it means to serve as an officer of the court and representing the people of the United States. He has all the qualities this nation needs to lead the Environment and Natural Resources Division. Now I'd like to turn to the ranking member, Senator Grassley of Iowa.
Well, thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Follow it. So let me turn to questions, and I'll start with Ms. Clarke. Yesterday was a classic illustration of where we are in America on a very important issue. Yesterday, like many days before, we are following on a day-to-day basis a trial in Minnesota. And the outcome of that trial is, of course, a topic of great concern for all Americans, black, white, and brown. The question is whether there was police misconduct involved in the death of George Floyd. And on top of that came the killing of Daunte Wright in Brooklyn Center, Minneapolis. I don't want to pick on Senator Klobuchar's state because sadly there are cases like that in many states, including my own. And a real question as to the training and fitness of some people in law enforcement. At the same time yesterday, we had a memorial service for one of our Capitol Hill policemen who was killed in the line of duty on Good Friday. He was standing out at an entrance which many of us use every single day, and a man came up and hit him with the car and killed him. And yesterday, he was honored, his body lie in repose in the rotunda, and the President of the United States came to give his honor and respect to Officer Billy Evans. What a contrast, the trial in Minneapolis and the memorial service at our nation's capital. Ms. Clarke, that really calls into question what you're really asking to embark on here, trying to find the right balance with civil rights in this country, representing or respecting our constitutional rights and civil rights, but understanding as well that an organized society needs law enforcement. You know that this Newsweek article is going to be presented to you to explain, and I'm going to give you that chance too. I know you've been a prosecutor. You've represented the people of the United States of America in lawsuits. You've been actively engaged in that effort for years. Questions were raised in this article about so-called defunding the police. And I want to give you a chance to explain what you were saying in that article. I certainly agree with some of your suggestions. We do need more social workers. They're a necessary part of law enforcement as far as I'm concerned, can avoid a lot of deadly confrontations. Yes, we need more social support in schools. That goes without saying. I think that's the right thing to do. More money in mental health aid as well. And I question, as others do, sending all this military equipment to police departments. But I want to give you a chance to explain that article and your position in your own words.
Thank you for the question, Senator. First, I want to acknowledge the grief that I know that families and communities are experiencing today. The family of the grieving Capitol officer who lost his life, the family of George Floyd, and so many others. I think we are at an inflection point. Senator, throughout my career, I have worked with law enforcement. I started off my career in the Justice Department and spent several years in the criminal section working with the FBI. Throughout my career, I have endeavored to form partnerships with law enforcement. Most recently, I worked with the International Association of Chiefs of Police to develop more effective strategies for tackling hate crimes. I'm proud to sit here today with the endorsement of a number of law enforcement organizations, the National Association of Police Organizations, the Major Cities Chiefs, the head of the International Association of Chiefs of Police, the National Organization of Black Law Enforcement Officers, and more. And I can assure this committee that if confirmed, I will bring the long experience that I have of working to find common ground with law enforcement to this role. The article that you referenced, Senator, I wrote to make clear that I do not support defunding the police. I do support finding strategies to ensure that law enforcement can carry out their jobs more safely and effectively, and channeling resources to emotional health treatment and other severely under-resourced areas, I think, is one path forward. I know that this committee engages in robust bipartisan dialogue around criminal justice reform frequently, and I look forward to being a partner in those ongoing efforts and discussions.
Do you think our police need to invest more money in training and in screening recruits to make certain that those who are not ready for the job, not prepared for it, or bring some prejudice to it are excluded?
I support Senator President Biden's commitment of $300 million to cops to help ensure that police have more resources to do their jobs. I understand the jobs that they have are incredibly difficult, and with more resources, we can work to ensure that they can carry out their roles more effectively.
Thank you. Senator Grassley.